Okay, hi, I'm Brett Loubser, the head of WeChat in Africa, and here to talk to you about the future of mobile in Africa. So, the first question that we've been asked is about what the evolution of social is. I guess from an Africa perspective, the context is similar to the rest of the world. I mean, people are people no matter which country you come from, but I think social is evolving in the most interesting way at the moment. This particular point in time that we're at right now is really fascinating because we're seeing many social platforms being used for reasons that are kind of trivial to the point of becoming frustrating to users. We're seeing people spending a lot of time telling their friends that they're going out to lunch, or taking photos of what they had for lunch, or what their cat did, and so on. And I guess this stuff is really important to some people, but maybe not to our entire group of friends or followers or whatever the case might be. So I think that there's a real trend moving back toward real communication and getting back to the foundations of what it means to have an actual conversation with another human being. And I think WeChat's really particularly suited to that, and that's the exciting thing for us. Because if you think about the idea that having a cup of coffee with a friend and having a real conversation with them has a completely different tone to you making a comment, broadcasting it out to an entire network, I think you can kind of get the foundational idea behind why communication in an environment like WeChat is fundamentally different. And I think it's important. I think that's really the direction that being social is moving in. Being able to communicate securely, privately, individually, but then also broadcasting a message out to a wider group of friends should the need arise. WeChat is particularly powerful in its ability to become a central point of contact, which allows people to speak to their friends, engage with their network, but also to connect their online and offline worlds. What I mean by saying that is that WeChat is particularly powerful when it comes to helping you to use your mobile device via a platform like WeChat to engage with things in the real world. So that may be paying for a service directly via WeChat, which is something that we'll be launching pretty soon in South Africa. It may be something like one of the things we're experimenting with in the office is replacing our access control system and using WeChat's QR code scan function to do that. So you scan a QR code as you arrive at the door, it figures out who you are because of your WeChat ID being associated with your internal access control system, and then it lets you in. This is quite a radical idea, but it is definitely where the future is going. There is a huge amount of interest and discussion going on around about the Internet of Things. If you think about all of your devices in your house being connected, how are you going to communicate with them? And a platform like WeChat is particularly suited to that kind of engagement. So from a value-added services perspective, I think WeChat is again uniquely positioned because it enables individual communication. So although in our official account environment, which could be seen as our version of brand channels, it is possible for a brand to broadcast a message out to a wide audience. If an audience member in that audience chooses to speak back to the brand, it starts the engagement for a single conversation. So for example, if you as a business were sending a broadcast message out about a new product that you'd like to promote or speak about, and one of your followers sends a question directly back in, you could have a call center consultant directly engage in a conversation with that person. The reason that's particularly powerful is I think many people shy away from the idea of using broadcast-only social platforms to engage with brands because, maybe if I'm interested in a product, I don't want to tell all my friends about it. And maybe it's a private question that I'd like to ask. Maybe I have a bill query. Maybe there's some sensitive information in the communication I need to have. And which platforms really facilitate that right now? A social platform that facilitates that, I think, has a very powerful potential for growth going forward, and that's where we think WeChat has particular value for brands in terms of adding value to their customers. We think there are many potential applications that we're only starting to see the tip of the iceberg for. One of the best examples that we're working with multiple companies on is call center integration. I think one of the key things is if you look at trends across the mobile landscape globally, We're all moving toward text-based communication in favor of voice, and I think, for me personally anyway, I think this is possibly related to the fact that we only have so much bandwidth we can deal with as human beings. So we prefer text because we can multitask while we're texting. On a voice call, all of our capacity is taken up. So the preferred way of communication is shifting toward text messaging, so why shouldn't your call center speak to your customer in the way that they prefer to be spoken to and the way they prefer to speak to you? I think that's one potential powerful application in terms of a value-added service that WeChat could deliver. Africa's mobile future is so incredibly exciting at the moment. Africa's particularly unique when it comes to mobile in that it really is the first form of connectivity that almost all Africans have. And in saying that, I mean, if you look at the way the internet has been deployed globally, in almost every instance, the internet has been made available to people based on existing fixed line telephony networks. Where in Africa, mobile becomes the first way that people generally experience the internet, and that's quite unique. And what it means is, because mobile devices are really personal devices and they represent us as individuals, it means that the type of engagement that the average African has and the way they perceive the internet is possibly different than the rest of us who've kind of grown up with the internet as something that we share in maybe a PC that the whole family uses at home, or a PC or a desktop that we use at work, where it's not our personal device. And I think the personal nature of mobile is something that highly influences the way that people consume and experience services that exist on the internet. And we've seen multiple examples of how mobile deployment into Africa has a direct and immediate impact on the economy because it enables business. And the reason it has such a dramatic impact in the African context is there was nothing before. The way that you would speak to somebody about a business deal you wanted to do is by driving out to go and see them. It'd take you an entire day to facilitate one meeting. And if you miss each other because of a timing mishap, you'd have to reschedule in who knows what kind of way. And mobile has just completely shifted the way communication happens. So if you look at where the device landscape is going and the absolute surge in low-cost Android devices that is coming through, this once again enables the things we've just been discussing, the growth of mobile in Africa and the growth of the mobile network operator infrastructures into Africa, still very, very much in their growth phase. And I think that we're just starting to see the real tip of the iceberg in terms of what the long-term impact will be for mobile in Africa. It's totally going to change the continent. And I think it's a very exciting time.